Welcome to Extra Time with Girls on the Ball, coming to you live-ish from the Dominican Republic, still technically travelling for the Under-17s FIFA Women's World Cup. A trip that has been supported, of course, by Xero. I'm Rachel.
I'm Sophie.
And this is Extra Time with Girls on the Ball. Right, Soph, we always knew that our Match Day 3 roundup would be recorded from somewhere unusual. We had a very early flight from Santiago to JFK, which I passed out on, so that wasn't possible. Always too noisy in an airport, if you guys remember Australia during last year's World Cup. So a plane from JFK to London, it is.
This is probably the most extreme place that we've recorded a podcast. We have done an airport before when we were at the World Cup, but I think this is definitely one for the record
one
books.
for the books? Yeah, I think so. And I was thinking I was going to put our mics to the absolute test, but I'm going to shout out Finn, our producer from up front. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm borrowing the mics that he sent me out to Santiago with. So hopefully
it's the price for carrying them all that way.
Yeah, they're big boxes. Now, before we dive into the match, can we firstly touch on the weather last night, Sophie, for our listeners who maybe weren't up in the middle of the night following our match day coverage? Can you give them a flavour of what it was like, please?
It was apocalyptic rain. It was the biggest, hardest rainstorm I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a few rainstorms. I have been to monsoon season and everything, but that was pretty. It wasn't just the sort of strength of it, it was the length of it, the fact that it went on for over 90 minutes, the heavy rain, and then just continued. Would we say mild rain? It wouldn't be mild at home. It was mild for Dominican Republic.
You'd say it was lashing at home, but I think after what we experienced before that during the first match, which was just a deluge of giant raindrops, it started, I'd say, about 15 minutes into that first match between Poland and Brazil. It never stopped. There was thunder and lightning.
There was.
It is worth going back if you have time on our Instagram to find that, because that was a ridiculous clip. We also put it up on Twitter
Perfect timing, Rach.
while we were trying to record our intro, and this massive flash of lightning and a huge crash of thunder. So there was a very slight delay in the restart of the second half of that match, which had no hindrance whatsoever on the England game. And worth kind of pointing out that the kickoff times for these matches were 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. So a lot of the time, the second match will be finishing maybe just after 6. If there is, long injury time, and especially with all these VAR reviews and stuff, matches are starting late. So this second half kicked off 5, 6, 7 minutes late. We had checks, we had long injury time. I think England had about almost maybe less than 40 minutes to warm up, so it was pretty crazy. I'd also like to shout out FIFA for supplying me with a beautiful PVC yellow fisherman's outfit.
You looked very fetching.
Thank you. Another thing that's worth checking out on our Instagram, and what I don't think you really appreciate, is that it was braces. So it came all the way up inside, like a proper fisherman's waders kind of outfit, and then had the giant jacket over it.
You set a trend though, because no one else was wearing the trousers, and then Rachel put on the trousers, I think mainly for a laugh, and then everyone else followed, so you decided to keep them on.
Well, actually I decided to keep them on because we were travelling about 3 hours after full time, and I didn't really want to get absolutely soaked, even if it is kind of warm. So I just decided, screw fashion, I'm just going to wear them. So that was a very interesting day for me shooting. Final group game for England last night against the toughest opponent of the group. We always knew this was going to be tough. North Korea are excellent at youth levels, and I think it's worth pointing out, I saw a couple of comments on our Twitter feed, on our match coverage, kind of being like, oh my god, how are England losing to North Korea? They are a top side, particularly at youth level, Self.
Yeah, they're so good. And another shout out for up front, go and listen to Rachel's episode that you did with, and Chloe's episode that you did with the journalist from Japan who talked about North Korea and covered about why they're so strong at youth level and why they remain in the top 10 at senior level, even though they don't really appear in international competitions. Yes, they are very, very good. I was so, they're so organised. Their press is so quick, you just don't have time to blink. Out of possession, they're pretty good as well. They're so, thought in the second half it changed a bit. There was a bit more spaces in between, like the defence and
They
midfield.
sat back a bit, I thought.
They just opened up a bit, whereas in the first half they were so compact and there was barely any room to play through for England. And England really struggled in that first half to kind of maintain possession and keep hold of the ball. When they did have the ball, they kept trying to thread it through the middle, and it would do it, like, more often than not be cut out because of the press. So yeah, they are a phenomenal side at this level, and you know, a few of those members played in the Under-20 World Cup just a month previous and won the Under-20 World Cup just a month previous. That says how good they are at this level.
I think it's also worth pointing out what a learning curve it is at this youth level, because as we touched on previous episodes, you know, these teams aren't, you know, England are probably used to playing a lot of teams outside of Europe. So to have to play 3 different styles of football in such a short space of time, you know, they're young still, so problem solving in match isn't going to be at peak level yet, and that's a massive thing they're going to learn from this. And like you spoke to Nat afterwards, and we'll put up, you know, a little bit from what Natalie Henderson said post-match, but she said this is a team that learns quickly, and that was something that we recognised in the second half. It was almost like England were kind of like, okay, we know what to expect now, and in the second half they were a bit less panicked by what they were confronted with, and I think there was a little bit of that initially in terms of problem solving in the first half. They were a little bit like, whoa. I think we were the same, and actually they were improved in the second half as well, so I thought that was interesting.
I think it's also like, for us in the stands, it's the unexpected. It's not like we get to watch North Korea play all that often, so when they come out like they did, and they're so strong and athletic and they're quick and they're pretty much good at everything, even like, you know, they're so good with their feet, they're so good in the air.
Their passing accuracy,
the delivery is brilliant.
Deliveries are pinpoint, the power behind their shots. Like, it was almost like a bit like watching a senior side, you know, in terms of the confidence they had in their decision making, in what they were doing, in their game plan. Like, it was very regimented. They were very sticking to it. I put
them down as a favourite before the tournament. I think they're definitely my favourites. I obviously want England to win, but you know, one of the favourites. I think they are the favourites to win this tournament. They're just that good.
Yeah. Now, I mean, you could see in the second half there was some frustration around the rechecks and the VAR light options that they had. England put in a couple of checks. They had a penalty against them. This was a bit confusing. It was eventually given, and then the penalty was taken, and they scored, and then that was reviewed. I think maybe there was a review for encroachment during the penalty, so that wasn't given. And then for the fourth goal, which I think maybe England were kind of really frustrated at that going in, when I saw
handball.
it live without my lens, immediately went, oh, that's handball.
Pretty much everyone in the stadium
waited for it to be called back. Nothing. Korea went on, scored, and there was review. And I think, you know, everyone was kind of like, this will be called back because it was a blatant handball. We all saw it, and it wasn't. So I don't know whether it grazed a chest before it hit the hand. I don't know. Either way, for me, that would have been a killer.
But you could see the reaction of the players as well. Emily Kassab immediately went handball, and in the stands we were like, that's handball. So yes, I mean, I do admit I haven't seen a replay, but it's one of the more blatant ones I think that I've seen.
And Natalie Henderson was very frustrated on the sideline. I think it felt like nothing was going their way, which I can understand in a game like that where you just kind of feel up against it.
I'd say a positive thing for England though is that they did get lots of minutes in legs, and you know, players that hadn't played in this World Cup before got their debut at a World Cup. They got minutes, they got confidence, maybe not, well, maybe a little bit, you know. It's a really tough game, so that's hard to say, but like,
get a first game out of your
get the nerves out of the system, get playing, get moving. And they've always been, whenever you speak to any of the Young Lionesses, it's always been about the squad and the players on the pitch as well as off the pitch, and the fact that they've now pretty much given minutes to everyone, other than goalkeepers, I think, is that's absolutely crucial, especially when you go into the knockout stages. Yeah, and I think as much as England obviously were going into that game to win it, I think at kind of 60 minutes they probably thought, if we haven't found a way back into it, we may as well rest some players for this quarterfinal coming up. You had to prioritise the Japan game and get some other players to get some minutes. So while it was a tough defeat, you know, it sounds kind of cliche, but I think there's a lot for them that they'll learn from that and be able to take into the Japan game. And It's actually the perfect preparation, I think, for Japan, because Japan play a similar style of football in terms of the domination of the ball. They're very technical. They like to play it through. They have a good press as well. So it's a good preparation. They're maybe not quite as intense as North Korea are, but I think it was a good way before a quarter-final to just sort of get used to more that style of football a little bit. It's certainly different to the way like Mexico and Kenya were playing. And I think, it's going to be an interesting one to see what they've learnt from that over the next 4 days, but also how Japan measure up in comparison.
Understandably, Natalie Henderson was disappointed afterwards, but at the same time, equally, I think she knows the areas that they want to focus on and improve in the days leading up to this Japan game. And this is what she said to you post-match about that defeat.
I think obviously really disappointed in terms of our performance. We knew they were going to be really tough. They're record holders at this age group, and we know that. We knew coming to a World Cup it's never going to be easy. Every game is going to be tough and it's going to bring its different challenges. I think the strength of our squad is that we learn quickly, we make progress quickly, and we'll certainly look at tonight, reflect on it, unpick some bits of our game, work on them over the next few days and try and get ourselves quarter-final ready.
That is a big quality of this team, isn't it? And I think I saw that in the second half as well, the way that your team came out. What were the kind of messages at half-time, and there was an improvement in performance?
Yeah, I think just to use the ball better than what we did. I think almost having more patience at times, not trying to force it through the middle, because we know that plays into their hands in terms of the transition, which they're very, very good at. So they were the half-time messages, just around using the ball better. Our tracking and marking in the box needs to be better at times. They're quick with their movement, they're quick with their counter-attacks. So there's certainly bits that we'll look at, but I certainly felt tonight we could have used the ball better in their half, created more chances than what we did. But again, we'll look at all that, we'll reflect, we'll recover, and we'll try and go again.
And I guess one positive is that you've got lots of minutes into lots of people's legs, so that's a real bonus as you go into the knockout stages of this competition.
Yeah, 100%. And we talk about this squad in terms of being united, everybody playing such an important role. I think it's nice now within the competition that everybody has played a role on and off the pitch. And I think that shows the qualities of the players we have. So I'm certainly happy from that aspect. Everybody plays their part, everybody plays a role, and we'll continue to do that as well.
I'm looking forward to that Japan game. I think it's going to be a really exciting one. Excited to see them in the
I'm just
the
gutted we can't be there.
I know.
I've been sort of in a minor depression ever since we left. I just wanted to stay.
I think more broadly, I have to ask, how have you found this trip, particularly with the Young Lionesses? The team have been so accommodating.
Yes. Couldn't have asked for better help from everyone, I think, from all of the Young Lionesses who gave up their time to talk to us and were really engaging with it. Natalie Henderson, of course, as well, multiple times where we interviewed her day after day. Be sick of us by now. And then, so a big thanks to them, to the FA, to Grace, obviously, was the press officer on the ground. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks, Grace. And then also we did interviews with the US team and with New Zealand as well, and some FIFA stuff. So thank you to all of them, because they were all so willing to give up their time and help us promote the tournament across the board.
Yeah, I do want to echo that, a shout out to FIFA, because this trip was somewhat last minute for us, which meant a lot of our requests were somewhat last minute, and they were so accommodating, and they did what they could to get things turned around, and we had help from some FIFA people we knew. Will on the ground in Switzerland as well, shout out to him, because they all came together to help us kind of pull some of our ideas together. So we're very excited for some of the content that's going to come out further along in the tournament, because while we are going home to London, we will still be covering the tournament on our socials and keeping you up to date with what's going on, how the Lionesses are getting on, and some other content. And the best way to avoid missing that is to subscribe, guys, and to be following us across all of our channels. This is your weekly reminder, and do engage with the content. It deserves to be, these young players deserve to have some engagement and to see people seeing how well that they're doing. So I guess that's our on the ground, in the air coverage of the under-17s World Cup group stages, England's group stages. But as I said, we'll be keeping you covered over the next couple of weeks. Not too long to go in the tournament now. But a big thank you for joining us on this adventure. A big thank you to Xero as well, because obviously without them we wouldn't be have been able to get out and cover the tournament in the way that we have. And we'll be coming to you very, very soon with more content. So keep your ears tuned, and we will speak to you very soon.